Picture this moment with me. It's late at night, the house is quiet, everyone else is asleep, and you're sitting alone in the half-darkness, thinking about them, the one who left, the one whose absence carves a hollow space in every room, every conversation, every ordinary Tuesday morning when you reach for the coffee and remember they'll never drink it with you again. And then it happens. A scent, faint, unmistakable, their perfume, his cologne, the particular smell of her skin or the soap he always used, or that candle she loved that you haven't lit in months, maybe years. It fills the air for just a few seconds. You breathe it in, your heart stops, and before you can even process what's happening, it's gone. Was it real? Were you imagining it? Or was it something else entirely? What if I told you that the ones you've lost are closer than you think? What if the boundary between this world and the next is not a wall, but a veil, thin as silk, translucent as morning mist? What if those who have passed are not gone, but transformed? Not silent, but speaking in a language most of us have forgotten how to hear. This is not a video about grief as an ending. This is about grief as a doorway, because the truth that mystics, mediums, and spiritual teachers have known for millennia is this: death does not sever the bonds of love. It only changes how we communicate. Your loved one is still here, still watching, still reaching for you across the invisible threshold. But they can no longer knock on your door. They can no longer call your name. They can no longer wrap their arms around you when you cry. So they've learned a new language, the language of signs, of synchronicities, of moments so strange and perfectly timed that your rational mind struggles to explain them away, and your heart doesn't even try. Over the next hour, I'm going to show you exactly how the departed speak when they no longer have mouths to speak with. We're going to explore the silent signs that appear in your life, signs you may have noticed but dismissed or missed entirely because grief made you too heavy to see them. We're going to draw on the extraordinary work of Edgar Cayce, the most documented psychic in modern history, whose thousands of readings gave us a detailed map of what happens after death and how the soul remains connected to those it loves. And by the end, you'll understand something that will change the way you move through your days. You are not alone. You have never been alone. And the one you're mourning is trying, with everything they have, to let you know that. The question isn't whether they're reaching out. The question is, are you listening? Let's begin. Before we can understand the signs, we need to understand the man who gave us the map. His name was Edgar Cayce, and if you've never heard of him, imagine this: a quiet, unassuming man from rural Kentucky, deeply religious, with only an 8th grade education. He had no interest in fame, no desire to be special. In fact, for most of his early life, he didn't even believe in the abilities he would become famous for. But Edgar Cayce had a gift that defied explanation. When he closed his eyes and entered a self-induced trance, he could access information that no ordinary human should be able to access. Medical diagnoses for people he'd never met, past life memories, detailed descriptions of ancient civilizations, and most remarkably, most beautifully, he could communicate with those who had died. Over the course of 43 years, Cayce gave more than 14,000 readings. They were transcribed, documented, studied, and within them a single, unshakable message appears again and again: death is not an ending, it is a doorway. Cayce didn't speak to the dead for spectacle. He spoke to them for grieving families, for mothers who lost children, for widows who needed to know their husbands weren't suffering, for anyone who came to him with that universal, soul-crushing question, where did they go? And what he told them, what came through him in those deep trance states, was not vague or abstract. It was specific. It was consistent. It was comforting in a way that no religious platitude could ever be. He described what happens at the moment of death. He explained where consciousness goes. He mapped the dimensions the soul travels through. And crucially, he revealed something extraordinary. The departed do not forget us. They do not move on and leave us behind. They remain connected, aware, and deeply invested in our well-being. But here's the part that changes everything. Cayce explained that the souls of the departed are bound by the laws of the realm they now inhabit. They exist in a dimension of thought, of vibration, of pure energy. They can see us. They can feel our emotions. They know when we think of them, when we speak their names, when we weep at night wishing we could hear their voice one more time. And they respond, but not in the ways we expect, not with voices E can hear or hands we can hold. They respond in the only ways they can, through signs, through subtle manipulations of energy and matter, through synchronicities that seem too perfect to be random, through dreams that feel more real than waking life. According to Cayce, the departed are not passive observers. They are active participants in our lives, working within the constraints of their new existence to reach us, comfort us, guide us. They do this not out of obligation, but out of love. Pure, enduring, unbreakable love. Over the next several chapters, we're going to explore the specific signs Cayce described, the ways the departed make their presence known. But before we do, we need to understand the foundation. We need to grasp the single most important truth that all of this rests on. And that truth is this: consciousness survives. Let me ask you something. What are you, not your body? We know the body is temporary, fragile, destined to fail. But you, the thing inside that witnesses your thoughts, the thing that remembers your childhood, the thing that loves, that dreams, that wonders, that worries about tomorrow, what is that? Edgar Cayce called it the soul, and according to everything he learned in his trance states, the soul is not a product of the brain. It's not an emergent property of neurons firing. It's not a biological accident. The soul is primary, fundamental, eternal. Your body is a vehicle, a temporary housing, and when that vehicle breaks down, when the heart stops, when the breath ceases, when the doctors pronounce the time of death, the soul does not end. It steps free. Imagine it like this. You've been living your entire life inside a dream, and the dream is so vivid, so all-consuming, that you forgot it was a dream. You believed the dream was all there was, and then suddenly you wake up. And in that moment of waking, everything becomes clear. You realize the dream was just one small room in an infinite mansion. You were never confined to it. You only thought you were. That's what death is, according to Cayce. It's not an extinguishing, it's an awakening. In his readings, he described the moment of transition in exquisite detail. The soul, released from the physical body, experiences a period of adjustment. There's no pain, no fear. Often there's confusion, particularly if the death was sudden or unexpected. The newly departed soul looks around and sees the world it just left, sees the people it loved, sees its own body lying still. And then comes the realization, I'm still here, I'm still me, I'm still aware. But there's more. Cayce explained that the departed quickly discover something both beautiful and heartbreaking. They can still perceive the living, they can see you, they can feel the waves of grief radiating from your heart. They watch you cry, they watch you struggle, and they want, desperately, to comfort you. But they no longer have arms to hold you, no voice to whisper, I'm okay, don't cry, I'm right here. They exist now in a realm of pure thought and energy, a dimension that vibrates at a frequency most humans can't consciously perceive. So they're faced with a dilemma. How do you communicate with someone who can't see you, can't hear you, can't feel your touch? How do you let them know you're still present when you exist in a form they've been taught doesn't exist at all? The answer is both simple and profound. You learn to speak in signs. Cayce taught that the soul, once freed from physical limitations, becomes extraordinarily creative. It learns to work with energy, to manipulate subtle forces, to create ripples in the fabric of reality, small enough not to violate natural law, but significant enough to catch the attention of those who are paying attention. Think of it as learning a new language. When you're alive in a body, you communicate with words, gestures, facial expressions. But when you're a soul without a body, you communicate through synchronicity, through dreams, through electrical currents and electromagnetic fields, through the sudden, inexplicable appearance of a scent, a song, a symbol. The departed become fluent in the language of the subtle realm, and they use that language constantly, tirelessly, lovingly, trying to reach you. But here's the tension. Here's the ache at the center of this mystery. Most people never learn to hear them. Most people live their entire lives convinced that death is a final separation, that the grave is a wall, that the silence is proof of absence. And so they miss the signs. They dismiss the synchronicities. They rationalize away the dreams. They live in unnecessary isolation from the very people who are trying hardest to reach them. And that's what we are here to change. Because once you understand the language, once you know what to look for, you'll see that the departed are everywhere. They are speaking constantly. They are closer than your breath. The question is not whether they're trying to reach you. The question is, what exactly are they saying? To understand how the departed communicate, we have to shift our understanding of what reality actually is. You've been taught to think of the world as solid, concrete, made of matter, chairs and tables and bodies and walls, all seemingly separate, all seemingly permanent. But modern physics tells us something very different. At the most fundamental level, everything is energy. Everything is vibration. Matter itself is just energy moving slowly enough to appear solid. Edgar Cayce understood this long before quantum mechanics made it scientifically respectable. In his readings, he described the universe as a vast, interconnected field of consciousness and vibration. Everything, every atom, every thought, every emotion is a frequency, a wave, a pattern of energy moving through space. And when you die, you don't stop being energy, you simply change frequency. You shift from the slow, dense vibration of matter to the fast, subtle vibration of pure consciousness. You become what Cayce called a thought-form being. You exist as awareness, as intention, as living, loving energy. And here's the key, you can still affect the physical world. Not through force, you no longer have muscles or mass, but through resonance, through attunement, through the subtle manipulation of frequencies. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're a musician and you're standing in front of a piano. You can't touch the keys, your hands are immaterial, but you can hum a note. And if you hum at exactly the right frequency, the corresponding string inside the piano will vibrate in sympathy. It will produce sound even though you never touched it. That's how the departed communicate. They can't touch you directly, but they can hum at the right frequency to make things around you respond. They can impress a thought into your mind. They can trigger a memory. They can nudge an object. They can influence electrical systems. They can arrange coincidences. But, and this is crucial, they must work within certain laws. Cayce was clear about this. The departed cannot violate free will. They cannot force you to notice them. They cannot appear as solid, visible beings whenever they want, demanding your attention. They are bound by the same spiritual laws that govern all of existence: respect, consent, and love. So they choose subtlety. They choose signs that honor your agency, signs that you can accept or dismiss, signs that whisper rather than shout. And they choose signs that are personal, meaningful, impossible to replicate by accident, because they know you, they remember what made you laugh, they know which song you danced to at your wedding, they know the smell of your grandmother's kitchen. They know the inside jokes, the shared memories, the tiny details that no one else would think to reference. When a departed loved one sends you a sign, it's not generic. It's not random. It's a love letter written in the language of energy, crafted specifically for you, designed to bypass your skepticism and land directly in your heart. But what does that actually look like? What are these signs? Over the next several chapters, we're going to explore the 5 most common ways the departed make contact. These are the patterns that appear again and again in Cayce's readings, in the testimonies of mediums, in the experiences of millions of grieving people who suddenly, inexplicably, felt the presence of someone they thought was gone forever. These signs are not superstition. They're not wishful thinking. They're the grammar of a language you've always known but forgotten how to speak. And the first sign, the one that catches people most off guard, is the sudden, unmistakable scent of someone who is no longer here. You're sitting in your living room, alone. The windows are closed. There's no candle burning, no air freshener, no flowers. And then, without warning, you smell it. Her perfume, the exact one she wore every single day. The scent you buried your face in when you hugged her. The scent that clung to her sweaters, her pillows, her side of the bed. It fills the room, unmistakable, undeniable, and just as quickly as it appeared, it's gone. Your rational mind scrambles for an explanation. Maybe it was a draft. Maybe it was a neighbor. Maybe you're imagining things because you miss her so much. But deep down, in the part of you that knows things without needing proof, you know what it was. It was her. Edgar Cayce explained this phenomenon with remarkable clarity. Scent, he taught, is one of the easiest sensory impressions for the departed to create. Why? Because smell is directly wired to the limbic system, the most ancient, primal part of your brain, the part that deals with memory and emotion, not logic and analysis. When you smell something, you don't process it intellectually first. You feel it. It bypasses your critical faculties and lands straight in your heart. That's why a particular scent can transport you back to childhood in an instant. Why the smell of your father's cologne can bring tears to your eyes years after he's gone. The departed know this. They understand that scent is a key that unlocks something deep inside you, and so they use it. But how? How does a soul without a body create a smell? According to Cayce, the departed can impress a memory onto the atmosphere around you. They can manipulate the vibrational frequency of the air molecules in such a way that your olfactory receptors perceive a scent, even though there's no physical source. They're not creating perfume molecules out of thin air. They're creating the experience of perfume, the memory of it, the energetic signature. It's subtle, it's brief, but it's real. And it happens far more often than you might think. Countless people report smelling cigar smoke when thinking of their grandfather, a man who's been dead for a decade. Others smell fresh roses at their mother's grave, even in winter. Still others catch the scent of a loved one's shampoo, their laundry detergent, the particular musk of their skin. These are not hallucinations. These are not products of a grief-stricken mind. These are acts of love. The departed are reaching across the veil to remind you, I am still here. I am still with you. Let me share something important. When this happens to you, and it will if you allow it, don't analyze it, don't dissect it. Don't let your rational mind bully you into dismissing it. Just receive it, breathe it in, and say thank you. Out loud, I mean it. Speak the words, thank you, I feel you, I love you. Because they hear you, not with ears, they don't have ears, but with the same consciousness that allowed them to create the sign in the first place. Your gratitude strengthens the connection. Your acknowledgement lets them know the message was received. And when you do this, when you honor the sign instead of dismissing it, something beautiful happens. The signs become more frequent, more clear, more undeniable. The departed are learning how to reach you, and you're learning how to receive them. But scent is just the beginning, because there's another sign that's even more dramatic, even more impossible to rationalize away. It involves the very infrastructure of your modern life, the electricity that powers your home. And when the departed start working with that, things get interesting. The lights flicker, just for a second. You're talking about them, telling a story, remembering something funny they said, and the overhead light dims, then brightens again. Coincidence, you think, old wiring. But then it happens again. You're looking at a photo of them on your phone, and suddenly the screen glitches. The image zooms in on their face, unbidden, or the phone restarts on its own, or a song starts playing, their song, from a playlist you haven't touched in months. The TV turns on in the middle of the night. No one touched the remote. No timer was set. It turns on, displays a channel you never watch, then turns off. Your computer freezes just as you're typing their name. The radio crackles with static, then clears, and the first words you hear are exactly what you needed to hear in that moment. These are not malfunctions, these are messages. Edgar Cayce's readings on this subject are extraordinary. He explained that when the soul sheds the physical body, it exists in a state of pure electromagnetic energy. And what is electricity? Electromagnetic energy. The departed, in their new form, are quite literally made of the same substance that powers your lights, your devices, your entire electrical grid. And they can learn to manipulate it. Not perfectly, not with total control. They can't write you an email or text you directly, but they can create interference. They can cause surges, flickers, glitches. They can influence the devices around you just enough to get your attention. Think about it from their perspective. Imagine you're trying to communicate with someone, but you have no voice and no body. And then you discover you can tap on a window. You'd tap frantically, wouldn't you? You'd try everything you could to make noise, to create a signal, to break through. That's what they're doing with electricity. They're tapping on the glass. They're saying, I'm here, I'm still here, please notice me. And the signs are often timed with eerie precision. The lights flicker when you mention their name. The TV turns on at the exact time they used to wake up every morning. Your phone dies at 11:11, a number that meant something to both of you. This isn't random. This is intentional. The departed are using the technology of your world to send you a love letter. Let me tell you why this matters so much. Because for most of human history, this form of communication wasn't possible. Our ancestors didn't have electricity. They didn't have phones or computers or TVs. So the departed had to work with what was available: candles flickering, objects moving, animals behaving strangely. But now we live in a old saturated with electromagnetic energy, and the departed have a whole new toolkit. They can reach you in ways that would have been unimaginable 100 years ago. So when your lights flicker, pay attention. When your phone does something it shouldn't, pause. When a device turns on by itself and displays something meaningful, don't brush it off. Acknowledge it, say their name. Say, I see you, I know you're here. Because they're working so hard to reach you. They're learning, experimenting, trying everything they can to make contact. And your acknowledgement, your willingness to believe, fuels their efforts. But as powerful as these signs are, there's one form of contact that stands above all others. One experience that is so vivid, so undeniable, so transformative, that it changes people forever. I'm talking about the dreams, the visitations, the moments when sleep becomes a doorway and you meet the departed face to face. Close your eyes for a moment. Think back to the last time you had a dream so vivid, so real, that when you woke up you could still feel it in your bones. Now imagine that dream, but different, clearer, more intense, every detail sharp as broken glass, the texture of fabric under your fingers, the exact tone of a voice, the warmth of an embrace that somehow feels more solid than anything in your waking life. You're with them, the one you lost, and they're not sick anymore, not frail, not in pain, they're radiant, younger somehow, glowing with a light that seems to come from within. Their eyes are bright, clear, full of a peace you've never seen in them before. And they speak to you, not in riddles, not in symbols, in clear, direct language. They tell you they're okay, they tell you not to worry. They forgive you for the things you couldn't say, the things you wish you'd done differently. They tell you they love you, they tell you they'll wait for you. And when you wake up, you're crying, but the tears aren't just grief, they're relief, they're gratitude. They're the tears of someone who just received the greatest gift imaginable: confirmation. This wasn't a regular dream. This was something else entirely. Edgar Cayce called this phenomenon astral visitation. He explained that during sleep, your soul is not bound to your body the way it is during waking hours. When you sleep, your consciousness slips free, not completely, but enough. Enough to travel to other dimensions. Enough to meet those who exist in realms beyond the physical. And the departed, They're waiting for you there, in that in-between space, that shared dimension where souls can touch without the barrier of flesh. Cayce was very specific about the difference between a regular dream and a true visitation. Regular dreams are fragmented, symbolic. They shift and change. You might dream of someone who's passed, but they're hazy, inconsistent. They might morph into someone else mid-dream, or the setting might dissolve into nonsense. But a visitation is crystal clear. You remember every detail. The conversation is coherent. The emotions are overwhelming. And the feeling, oh, the feeling, it stays with you for days, weeks, sometimes years. You wake up and you know, not believe, not hope. No, that was real. You were together. You saw them. You spoke to them. This is not your subconscious creating a comforting fantasy. This is reunion. This is your soul, freed from the constraints of waking consciousness, meeting the soul of your loved one in a place where death has no dominion. And here's what makes it even more beautiful. The departed plan these meetings. Cayce's readings reveal that souls on the other side can perceive when you're ready to receive a visitation. They watch your energy. They feel when your grief has softened enough, when your heart has opened enough to allow the connection. Because if you're too heavy with despair, the vibration doesn't match. If you're too closed off, too angry, too convinced they're gone, the door stays shut. Not because they don't want to reach you, but because love honors your state. It waits for the moment when you're receptive. So they wait, and when the time is right, when you're sleeping and your defenses are down, they come. They step into your dream, and for a few precious moments, you're together again. Now I want to speak directly to those of you who haven't had this experience yet. Those of you who are thinking, why not me? Why haven't they visited me? Don't they love me enough? Listen to me, this is not about worthiness. It's not about whether they love you. They do, fiercely, completely. This is about readiness, about timing, about the energetic conditions being right. Grief is loud, it's dense. It's a frequency that can block reception. And if you're in the early, raw stages of mourning, your pain might be creating so much static that even the clearest signal can't get through. But that will change. As you heal, and you will heal, the channel will clear, the signs will see. The visitation will happen, and when it does, you'll understand why it took time. Because the gift is so profound that you need to be in a place where you can receive it without shattering. Be patient, be gentle with yourself, keep the door open, keep talking to them, keep asking for the dream, and trust that when the moment is right, they will come. But visitations aren't the only way the departed reach out through the natural world. Because there's another messenger they use, one that flies, that crawls, that walks on 4 legs. They use the animals, and when they do, the signs become impossible to ignore. A cardinal lands on the windowsill, right outside the kitchen, right where you're standing. It's the 3rd day in a row, same bird, same time, same window. It looks at you, directly at you, and it doesn't fly away. Or maybe it's a butterfly. You're at the funeral, standing by the grave, and a butterfly lands on your shoulder. In November, in a part of the country where butterflies shouldn't exist in November, it stays there, wings slowly opening and closing for a full minute. Then it lifts off and vanishes. Or a dog, a stray, appears on your doorstep on the anniversary of their death. No collar, no tags, just sitting there waiting. You let it in, feed it, and it stays by your side for 3 days. Then, just as inexplicably, it's gone. Coincidence or something more? Edgar Cayce taught that animals are far more sensitive to spiritual presence than humans. They haven't been trained to dismiss the invisible. They haven't been taught that death is final, that souls don't linger, that the veil is impenetrable. Animals live in a state of pure instinct and intuition. They sense what we've learned to ignore. And the departed know this. They can guide animals toward you, not through force. Remember, they honor free will, but through gentle influence. A nudge, a whisper in the animal's awareness, a pull toward a specific location, a specific person, a specific moment. Why animals? Because you can't rationalize them away. A bird doesn't know your grief. A butterfly doesn't understand the significance of a funeral. A dog has no reason to show up on that particular day unless someone guided it there. The departed use animals as couriers, as living symbols, as undeniable proof that the boundary between worlds is thinner than you thought. Different cultures have recognized this for millennia. In many traditions, cardinals are believed to be messengers from the deceased, their red color a symbol of the blood of Christ, or the life force that transcends death. Dragonflies are seen as the souls of the departed, visiting briefly before moving on. White feathers are considered gifts from angels or loved ones watching over you. Whether these beliefs are literal or metaphorical doesn't matter. What matters is the experience, the moment when an animal appears in your life in a way that feels orchestrated, intentional, personal. I've heard countless stories. A woman whose mother loved hummingbirds, and after her mother's death, a hummingbird began visiting her garden every single day, hovering by the window where she drank her morning coffee. A man whose father was obsessed with owls, and on the night of his father's passing, an owl perched on the fence outside his bedroom and hooted 3 times, then flew away. These are not random events. These are signs, and when they happen to you, you'll know, because the timing will be too perfect, the symbolism too precise, the feeling in your chest too certain. So here's what I want you to do. Pay attention to the animals in your life. Notice when a bird lands near you and doesn't startle. Notice when a butterfly circles you in a way that feels deliberate. Notice when a pet behaves strangely, staring at empty space, wagging its tail at nothing, curling up in the exact spot your loved one used to sit. Animals see what we cannot. They feel what we've forgotten how to feel. And when the departed need a messenger that can cross into the physical world, animals are the perfect choice. But there's one more sign, one more pattern that appears again and again in the lives of those who have lost someone they love. And this one is perhaps the most mysterious, the most impossible to explain, the most undeniably supernatural. I'm talking about synchronicities, the universe rearranging itself in ways that defy chance. You glance at the clock, 11:11, you shrug it off, coincidence, but then it happens again the next day and the next, and suddenly you're seeing 11:11 everywhere, on receipts, on license plates, on the number of unread emails in your inbox. Or maybe it's their birthday, June 14th, and you start seeing 614 everywhere, the address of a building you walk past, the total on your grocery bill, the confirmation number on a plane ticket, over and over and over. Or you're thinking about them, really thinking, lost in a memory, and the next person you pass on the street says their name. Stranger, someone who has no connection to you or your loss, but there it is, clear as day, their name, spoken into the air at the exact moment you are holding them in your heart. Or a song, their song, the one you danced to, or the one they played on repeat, or the one that was playing when you first met. It comes on the radio in the car, then again in the grocery store, then again in a restaurant you've never been to, 3 times in one day. 1 coincidence is chance, 2 is interesting, but 3, 4, 10. That's not chance, that's a message. Edgar Cayce described this phenomenon in his readings with extraordinary insight. He called it the law of attraction and vibration. The departed, he explained, exist in a realm where thought is creative, where intention shapes reality. They can't change the physical world outright. They can't force you to turn left instead of right, can't make you pick up a specific book at a specific time, but they can influence probabilities. They can nudge. They can align energies. Think of reality as a vast web of possibilities. Every moment contains infinite potential outcomes, and the departed, working from the other side, can gently tip the scales. They can make it more likely that you'll look at the clock at 11:11, more likely that you'll turn on the radio just as their song begins, more likely that the person in front of you at the coffee shop will mention their name. They're not controlling you. They're orchestrating synchronicities. They're creating patterns in the fabric of your experience, patterns so specific, so personal, that when you notice them, there's no doubt in your mind about what's happening. This is cosmic Morse code. They're tapping on reality itself, sending you a signal, hoping you'll hear the rhythm and recognize the voice behind it. But here's the key to understanding synchronicities. They must be personal, specific, undeniable. A random number means nothing, but their birthday appearing in 7 different places over 3 days, that's a sign. A random song on the radio, background noise, but their song at the exact moment you were crying in the car, begging for a sign, that's contact. You'll know the difference because of how it feels. When a true synchronicity occurs, it lands in your chest like a bell being struck. It reverberates. It creates a sense of certainty that bypasses all logic. Your rational mind might scramble to explain it away, but your soul knows. Your soul says, that was them, they're here. And once you start noticing, once you start paying attention, the synchronicities multiply. Because the departed see that you're listening. They see that their messages are being received, and so they send more, clearer, more frequent. This is the beginning of a conversation, a dialogue across dimensions. You think of them and they respond. You ask for a sign and they deliver. You say thank you and they send another. You're learning to speak their language and they're learning to speak yours. But now we need to pause and ask a deeper question, because signs are beautiful, comfort is precious. But why? Why do the departed do this? Why do they invest so much energy, so much effort into reaching across the veil? The answer is simple, and it will break your heart open. Let me paint you a picture. You're standing at the edge of 2 worlds. Behind you is light, beauty, peace beyond comprehension, teachers waiting to guide you, realms of learning and growth, dimensions of pure love and creativity. You could step forward into that light. You could move on. You could ascend to higher levels of existence and never look back. But you don't. You stay. You linger at the threshold, 1 foot in eternity, one foot still tethered to earth. Why? Because you can see them, the ones you left behind, your spouse, your child, your parent, your best friend, and they're in pain. You watch them cry. You watch them collapse under the weight of grief. You watch them go through the motions of life, hollow and broken, convinced they'll never feel whole again. And you can't bear it, not because you're suffering, you're not. You're free, you're at peace. But you see their suffering, and it moves you to action. Because even though you no longer have a body, even though you exist now in a form they can't perceive, one thing has not changed. You love them completely, eternally, without reservation or condition. And because you love them, you cannot rest until they know truly, deeply, unshakably know that you are okay, that you are not gone, that death did not erase you, that the bond between you was never broken, only transformed. This is why they reach out, not because they're trapped, not because they need you, but because you need them. And love, true love, end at the boundary of death. Edgar Cayce's readings are filled with messages from the departed, and they all say the same thing: I stayed for you. I linger at the edge of your awareness for you. I send you see. GNS, arrange synchronicities, visit your dreams, all for you. This is not duty, this is not obligation, this is devotion. Think about what that means for a moment. Really let it sink in. The soul of your loved one has transcended death. They have access to realms of beauty and wonder you can barely imagine. They could move forward into higher dimensions, exploring the infinite mysteries of existence. But instead, they choose to stay close to you. They choose to learn the difficult art of speaking through signs. They choose to invest their energy. Yes, it takes energy, even for a soul, into making sure you know you're not alone. That is love in its purest form, love that asks for nothing, love that gives everything, love that refuses to let distance, even the distance between life and death, sever the connection. Cayce explained that the departed are not static. They are still growing, still learning, still evolving. But part of their journey often involves helping those they left behind, not because they're stuck, but because they choose it, because your healing is important to them, because your peace matters. And here's something beautiful that Cayce revealed. When you finally find peace, when you finally accept that they're okay and that you're going to be okay too, they feel it. They celebrate it. And often, that's when they can fully move forward in their own journey. Not because you were holding them back, but because their love for you was so strong that your healing became part of their purpose. So when you receive a sign, when you smell their perfume, when the lights flicker, when you dream of them, when the cardinal appears, understand what you're really receiving. You're receiving proof of a love so powerful that it transcends the greatest boundary known to human experience. You're receiving a message that says, I am still yours and you are still mine. Death changed the form but not the bond. I am watching over you. I am celebrating your victories and grieving your sorrows. I am here, I have always been here, and I will be here until the day we meet again. That's why they reach out. That's why they work so hard to break through, not for themselves, but for you. But now we need to address something difficult, something that causes immense pain to those who are grieving. Because if the departed are trying so hard to reach us, if the signs are all around us, then why do so many people never see them? Why do so many people live their entire lives convinced their loved one is simply gone? The answer is complex, and it's important. Grief is a storm. It fills every corner of your mind. It drowns out everything else. It's thunder and wind and rain so heavy you can't see 2 feet in front of you. And in that storm, a whisper, even a whisper of love, can be completely inaudible. This is the cruel paradox of loss. The people who most need to receive signs are often the least able to perceive them, not because the signs aren't there, not because their loved ones aren't trying, but because grief creates a kind of static, a frequency mismatch. Edgar Cayce understood this deeply. In reading after reading, people would come to him heartbroken, asking, "Why haven't I heard from them? Why haven't they visited? Don't they love me anymore?" And Cayce would gently, compassionately explain, "They have tried, they are trying, but you are so heavy with sorrow that you cannot receive them." Let me explain the mechanics of this, because it's not your fault, and you need to understand that. The departed exist in a state of peace, of light, of high vibration. They are no longer weighed down by fear, pain, regret, or suffering. Their energetic frequency is fast, subtle, elevated, and you, in the depths of grief, you are low, dense, contracted. Your energy is slow and heavy, pulled down by the weight of your sorrow. It's not a judgment, it's just physics, spiritual physics, but physics nonetheless. Imagine trying to hear a high-pitched whistle while standing next to a jackhammer. The whistle is sounding, it's real, it's there, but the noise around you is so loud, so overwhelming, that you simply cannot hear it. That's what grief does. It creates noise, mental noise, emotional noise, existential noise, and in that cacophony, the subtle signs, the gentle nudges, the quiet synchronicities get lost. There's also the factor of belief. If you've been taught your entire life that death is final, that consciousness ends, that there is no afterlife or only a specific version dictated by religious doctrine, then even when a sign appears, your mind will reject it. Your conditioning will kick in. That's just coincidence. That's just my imagination. That's just wishful thinking. And the tragedy is that your dismissal isn't wrong because you're stupid or faithless. It's wrong because you've been taught to distrust your own direct experience. You've been trained to value rational explanation over felt truth. You've learned to doubt the evidence of your own heart. So the sign appears, the scent, the flicker, the dream, and instead of receiving it with gratitude, you analyze it, you pick it apart. You find a logical explanation, even if that explanation is statistically improbable. And in doing so, you miss the miracle that was offered to you. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is crucial. None of this means you're failing. You're not doing grief wrong. You're not spiritually deficient. You're not being punished. You're human, you're in pain, and pain is loud. Edgar Cayce never blamed the grieving for missing signs. He simply encouraged them to be patient with themselves. He promised that as the acute grief softened, not disappeared, but softened, the channel would clear. The static would lessen, and the signs that had always been there would suddenly become visible. Think of it like this. After someone dies, your grief is a fog so thick you can't see your own hand in front of your face. But over time, that fog thins, not all at once, gradually, and as it thins, you start to see shapes, then details, then the whole landscape. The signs were always there. The synchronicities were always occurring. Your loved one was always reaching out. You just needed time to be able to see it. So if you're in that fog right now, if you're reading this and thinking, "I haven't received any signs," They haven't come to me. Please hear me. You're not being ignored. You're not unloved. You're just in the storm. And storms, no matter how fierce, eventually pass. And when yours passes, when you find yourself in a moment of stillness, even just a few seconds of peace, that's when the signs will come. That's when the cardinal will land, when the song will play, when the dream will arrive. Your loved one is waiting, not impatiently, not with frustration, but with infinite compassion. They understand your pain better than anyone because they can feel it, and they will wait as long as it takes for you to be ready. But what if you don't want to wait? What if you're reading this and thinking, I want to hear from them now. I need to know they're okay. What can I do? That's what we're going to talk about next. Because while you can't force the signs, you can absolutely open yourself to receive them. Let's talk about becoming receptive, about clearing the channel, about doing everything in your power to create the conditions that allow the signs to come through. This is not about summoning the dead. It's not about control or manipulation or forcing the universe to bend to your will. It's about aligning yourself with the frequency of love, opening your heart, and sending out an invitation. I'm ready. I'm listening. Please let me know you're here. Here's the first and most important practice. Talk to them. Out loud in your mind, written in a journal, doesn't matter, they hear you. Edgar Cayce was emphatic about this. Thought is the language of the soul. When you think of your loved one with intention, with love, with focus, you create a beam of light across the dimensions. You create a pathway, a connection, and they can follow that connection back to you. So speak to them as if they're in the room, because in a very real sense they are. Tell them about your day, tell them you miss them, tell them you're sorry for the things you wish you'd said, tell them you love them, ask them questions, ask them for signs. Don't worry about feeling foolish, don't worry about whether it's working, just do it. The act itself, the act of reaching out, matters more than you know. Second, create stillness. The departed cannot shout, they can only whisper, and you cannot hear a whisper if your mind is constantly racing, constantly distracted, constantly filled with noise. So you need to cultivate moments of quiet, meditation, prayer, silent walks in nature, sitting in a dark room with your eyes closed, just breathing. I'm not saying you need to become a monk. I'm saying you need to give yourself 5 minutes a day, just 5, where you are not consuming content, not scrolling, not thinking about work or bills or the future. 5 minutes where you are simply present, simply still, simply open. In that stillness, the signs can land, the thoughts can come through, the sense of presence can make itself known. Third, ask for a sign. Be specific. The departed want to help you, they want to comfort you, but they also honor your free will, so give them permission, give them direction. Say out loud or in your mind, please show me a cardinal, let me dream of you, play our song on the radio. Give me a sign I cannot miss. Be as specific as you can. The more specific you are, the more undeniable the sign will be when it arrives. Don't just ask for any sign. Ask for something personal, something meaningful, something only they would know. And then, this is crucial, pay attention. Fourth, notice, observe, track. The signs are subtle, remember. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss them, so start keeping. A journal, write down the coincidences, the strange occurrences, the dreams, the moments when you thought of them and something odd happened immediately after. When you start documenting these experiences, patterns emerge. You realize that what seemed like isolated incidents are actually part of a larger conversation. You see the thread running through it all, and that recognition strengthens the connection even further. Fifth, express gratitude. When you receive a sign, even if you're not 100% sure it was a sign, say thank you out loud. With feeling, thank you, I see you, I feel you, I know you're here, I love you. Gratitude is a high vibration. It's a frequency of love and appreciation. And when you express gratitude, you match the frequency of the departed. You close the gap. You make it easier for them to reach you again. These 5 practices, talking to them, creating stillness, asking for signs, paying attention, expressing gratitude, are not magic spells. They're not guarantees, but they are invitations. They are ways of saying to your loved one and to the universe itself, I am open, I am ready, I am willing to receive. And when you do these things consistently, something beautiful happens. The signs start coming, not all at once, not in a dramatic flood, but steadily, gently, undeniably. You start to feel them around you. You start to sense their presence. And slowly, the isolation of grief begins to lift, because you realize something that changes everything. They never left, they're still here, and they've been trying to tell you that all along. But what are they actually trying to tell you? What messages are they sending through all these signs? That's what we need to explore next, because the signs are not just proof of presence. They're carriers of specific messages, and these messages, these truths that the departed want you to know, are some of the most healing words you'll ever hear. Across thousands of readings, spanning decades of work, Edgar Cayce received the same messages from the departed over and over again. Different souls, different lives, different circumstances, but the same essential truths. These are the things your loved one is trying to tell you. Listen carefully. Message 1: I am not in pain. Whatever suffering they endured in their final days, their final hours, their final moments, it's over, completely over. The cancer is gone, the dementia has lifted, the injuries have healed, the depression has dissolved. They are whole again, more than whole. They are restored to a state of perfection that they perhaps never experienced in physical life. If they died young, they are not frozen in youth. If they died old, they are not diminished by age. They exist now in the fullness of themselves, all the wisdom, all the love, all the essence of who they were, freed from the limitations of the body. They want you to know this because they can feel your worry. They can sense you lying awake at night, torturing yourself with images of their suffering. And they're trying desperately to tell you, that's not where I am anymore. I am free. I am at peace. Please stop holding the memory of my pain. Hold instead the truth of my joy. Message 2: I am not angry. Whatever happened between you, the fights, the misunderstandings, the things said in anger or left unsaid in silence, they've released it, all of it. Death has a way of putting everything into perspective. The petty grievances, the old resentments, the wounds that felt so important in life, they simply don't matter anymore. They see now with perfect clarity. They understand your struggles. They understand why you said what you said, did what you did. They hold no grudges. They carry no bitterness. If you fought in the last days before they died, they forgive you. If you weren't there when they passed, they forgive you. If you made mistakes, if you failed them in ways you can't stop replaying, they forgive you. They want you to stop punishing yourself. They want you to release the guilt that's eating you alive. Because from where they stand now, those things are so small, so meaningless. What matters is the love. And the love was always there underneath everything else. Message 3. I forgive you, and I hope you forgive me. This one goes both ways. They forgive you for your failings, and they desperately hope, that you can forgive them for theirs. Because they see now, with clarity they didn't have in life, all the ways they fell short, all the ways they hurt you, disappointed you, failed to be who you needed them to be. They carry regret, not in a tormented way, they're beyond torment, but in a wistful way. They wish they could go back and do it differently. They wish they could have one more conversation, one more hug, one more chance to say, I'm sorry, I love you. But they can't, so they're asking you to release them from that burden, to forgive them so that both of you can be free. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks the heavies. T-chains, when you forgive both yourself and them, you change the entire energetic dynamic of your grief. You move from weight to lightness, from darkness to dawn. Message 4. Live your life. They do not want you frozen in grief. They do not want you to stop laughing, stop loving, stop pursuing joy because they're no longer physically here. In fact, the opposite is true. They want you to live fully, wildly, courageously. They want you to fall in love again if you lost a spouse. They want you to have more children if you lost a child. They want you to chase your dreams, take the trip, write the book, start the business. They want you to embrace life with both hands and not let grief steal one more second of your precious time on earth. This doesn't mean forgetting them. It means honoring them by living the kind of life they would celebrate, by becoming the person they always believed you could be. When you thrive, they rejoice. When you grow, they cheer. Your happiness is not a betrayal, it's a tribute. Message 5. We will mate again. Death is not the end of your relationship. It's an intermission, a separation, yes, but a temporary one. Cayce was clear about this. Souls who love each other in life remain connected across lifetimes, across dimensions, across all of eternity. The bond between you is not broken. It's simply stretched across space and time. And one day you will see them again, not as a ghost, not as a memory, but as themselves, fully present, fully real. You will embrace, you will speak. You will laugh and cry and catch up on everything you missed. That reunion is waiting for you, guaranteed, as certain as sunrise, and they want you to hold onto that promise, especially on the hardest days. This is not goodbye forever. This is goodbye for now. Message 6. I love you. I will always love you. This is the message beneath all the other messages. The foundation, the truth that makes everything else possible. Love does not end. It cannot end. It is the fundamental force of the universe, more powerful than gravity, more enduring than stars. And their love for you has not diminished by even a fraction. If anything, it has grown, because now they see you with absolute clarity. They see all your struggles, all your courage, all your beauty, and they love you for all of it. When you feel alone, remember this. You are held in a love that transcends death itself. You are seen, you are cherished, you are not and never will be abandoned. That's what the signs are really saying. That's the message encoded in every scent, every flicker, every dream, every synchronicity. I love you, I'm here, and I will never leave you. Let that truth settle into your bones. Let it reshape the way you think about death, about loss, about what it means to grieve. Because grief is not just pain. Grief is something far more mysterious and sacred than that. No one wants grief. No one chooses it. It comes to us uninvited, unwelcome, and it shatters everything we thought we knew about safety and permanence. But Edgar Cayce taught something profound about suffering. He said that pain is not punishment, it's initiation. Grief cracks you open. It strips away the superficial layers of your life, the distractions, the trivialities, the things you thought mattered but never really did. It forces you to confront the deepest questions existence can ask. What is real? What endures? What actually matters? And in that sacred breaking, something happens. You become more sensitive, more awake, more attuned to the invisible currents that run beneath the surface of ordinary reality. Before grief, you might have dismissed the signs. You might have explained away the synchronicities, rationalized the dreams, ignored the cardinal at the window. But after grief, after being shattered and reassembled, you can't ignore them anymore. You're too raw, too open. The protective shell of cynicism and skepticism has been cracked wide open, and now you can feel things you couldn't feel before. The departed know this. Cayce's readings suggest that souls on the other side understand grief better than we do. They understand that your pain, as unbearable as it feels, is also making you more receptive to them. Your broken heart is more permeable than your defended heart ever was. This doesn't mean they wanted you to suffer. It means they're using your suffering to reach you. They're transforming your pain into a bridge. Think about it this way: the love you feel for them, where does it go after they die? In life, you express that love through words, touch, time spent together. But now that they're gone, that love has nowhere to go. It just sits in your chest, unexpressed, aching, desperate for an outlet. And that love, that enormous, overflowing, broken-hearted love, is the bridge. It's the frequency they can tune into. It's the beacon that guides them to you. Your grief is proof of how much you loved, and your love is the doorway through which they return. So don't be afraid of your grief. Don't rush it. Don't try to shut it down or medicate it away or pretend you're fine when you're not. Grief is holy work. It's the deepest spiritual practice you'll ever engage in, whether you realize it or not. But, and this is important, grief is meant to transform you, not destroy you. It's meant to be a doorway you walk through, not a room you live in forever. Edgar Cayce spoke often about the danger of becoming trapped in grief, of letting it calcify into bitterness, despair, or permanent withdrawal from life. That kind of grief doesn't honor the departed. It doesn't serve you. It just creates more suffering on both sides of the veil. The departed don't want you stuck. They want you transformed. They want you to take the raw material of your pain and shape it into wisdom, compassion, depth, and an expanded capacity to love. So as you grieve, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How is this breaking me open in ways that will ultimately make me more whole? What parts of my old life was I clinging to that needed to fall away? What truth am I learning that I could never have learned any other way? These are not easy questions, but they're the questions that turn grief from a curse into a crucible. into an initiation. And on the other side of that initiation, you emerge different, softer in some ways, stronger in others, less attached to the surface of things, more aware of the depths, more connected to the unseen world, more awake to the signs. Your loved one's death is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a deeper chapter. A chapter where you learn that love is stronger than death, where you discover that the veil is not a wall, where you become the kind of person who can hold two realities at once, the pain of absence and the peace of presence. And that transformation, that's the gift hidden inside the grief. But transformation is not a one-time event. It's a practice, a way of living, and that's what we need to talk about now. Edgar Cayce spoke often about a concept he called attunement. It means aligning yourself, your mind, your heart, your energy with the highest forces in the universe, with love, with light, with the divine source from which all souls come and to which all souls return. Living in attunement means living in a state of receptivity. It means moving through your days with awareness, with presence, with an openness to the subtle communications happening all around you. It means recognizing that you are not separate from the spiritual realm. You are part of it. You are a soul having a human experience, and the veil between worlds is thinner than you've been taught to believe. When you live in attunement, you notice the signs. You honor the synchronicities. You trust the whispers. You understand that every moment is an opportunity for connection, not just with the departed, but with the sacred dimension of existence itself. So how do you cultivate this? How do you live this way? Let me offer you a simple daily practice. Nothing complicated. Nothing that requires hours of time or special equipment or esoteric knowledge. Just a gentle rhythm that keeps you connected. In the morning, light a candle in their memory. It doesn't have to be elaborate, just a candle on a table in a quiet corner of your home. As you light it, speak to them out loud or in your mind. Tell them good morning. Tell them you love them. Tell them you're paying attention today. The candle is a symbol. It represents the light of their soul, still burning, still present. And the act of lighting it is a way of saying, I remember you, I honor you, I'm here. Throughout the day, notice, pay attention. When something odd happens, a flicker, a scent, a strange coincidence, pause. Don't immediately dismiss it. Don't rush past it. Just acknowledge it. I see you, thank you. You don't have to make a big production of it. You don't have to stop everything and meditate for 20 minutes. Just a moment of awareness, a mental nod, a quiet recognition. In the evening, review your day. Sit quietly for a few minutes and ask yourself, did anything unusual happen? Did I notice any signs? Were there moments when I felt their presence? Write it down if you can. Keep a journal. Track the patterns. Over time, you'll start to see the conversation unfolding. You'll realize that the signs are not random. They're responses, replies, proof of ongoing connection. Before sleep, ask for a dream. This is the time when your conscious mind releases its grip and your soul becomes free to travel. So as you're drifting off, hold them in your heart and say, please come to me tonight. Let me see you. Let me hear your voice. Not every night will bring a visitation, but some nights will, and those nights will sustain you through everything else. This practice is not about control. It's not about demanding the departed show up on your schedule. It's about relationship. you are still in relationship with them. The form has changed, but the bond has not. And like any relationship, it requires attention, care, intentionality. When you live in attunement, when you make space for the connection, everything shifts. You stop feeling so alone. You stop feeling like death stole them from you. You start to feel them woven into the fabric of your daily life, present in the bird at the window, in the song on the radio, in the dream that wakes you with tears of relief. You start to live as though they're always watching, not with judgment, not with disappointment, but with love, pure, unconditional, eternal love. And when you live that way, something beautiful happens. You stop asking, why did they leave? And you start asking, how can I honor them with the way I live? You stop seeing their death as the worst thing that ever happened to you and start seeing it as an invitation to live more deeply, love more fully, and pay attention to the mystery that hides in plain sight. This is what it means to live in attunement. This is the life the departed want for you, not a life of endless mourning, but a life of expanded awareness. A life where the physical and spiritual dimensions touch, where the veil is thin, where love flows both ways. And as you live this way, day after day, year after year, something extraordinary happens. You stop being afraid of death because you've already glimpsed what lies beyond it. You've already felt the presence of those who crossed over. And you know, not believe, not hope, but know that when your time comes, they'll be waiting for you. This is not the end of your story. This is the middle. And the ending is reunion. But until then, you have work to do. You have a life to live, signs to notice, love to express, and a relationship with the departed to nurture every single day. They're here, they've always been here, and they're never leaving. Let's bring this all together. You've learned the signs, the scent that appears from nowhere, the lights that flicker when you speak their name, the dreams that feel more real than waking life, the animals that appear at impossible moments, the synchronicities that defy all logic. You've learned why the departed reach out, not because they're stuck, but because they love you, because they can see your pain and they cannot rest until you know you're not alone. You've learned why we miss the signs, not because we are failing, but because grief is loud and the signs are quiet. But as we heal, as we soften, the channel clears. You've learned how to invite contact, how to create stillness, ask for signs, pay attention, and express gratitude. And you've learned the messages they're trying so desperately to send. I'm not in pain. I forgive you. Live your life. We will meet again. I love you. But here's the ultimate truth, the one that makes all of this possible. You are not alone. Not now, not ever. The veil between this world and the next is not a wall of stone. It's a curtain of silk, translucent and shimmering, and those you love are standing just on the other side, reaching for you with everything they have. They are in the cardinal at your window. They are in the song that makes you cry. They are in the flicker of lights and the scent of roses. They are in the dream that felt too real to be imagination. They are in the 11:11 on the clock and the whisper in your heart that says, you're going to be okay. They are here, they have always been here, and they will be here until the day you cross the veil yourself and find them waiting with open arms. Edgar Cayce devoted his entire life to proving this, not with dogma or blind faith, but with evidence, with thousands of readings that gave grieving families the proof they needed, the peace they deserved, the knowledge that death is not an ending, but a transformation. And now that knowledge is yours. So what do you do with it? You pay attention, you open your heart, you speak to them as if they're in the room, because they are. You notice the signs when they come, you say thank you let yourself believe what your heart already knows. And you share this. If this video resonated with you, if it brought you comfort or shifted something in your understanding, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it with someone who's drowning in grief and can't see the light. Share it with someone who's been waiting their whole life for permission to believe that the ones they love are still close. Subscribe to this channel if you want to continue exploring these mysteries. If you want more deep dives into the spiritual truths that Edgar Cayce and others have revealed. If you want to keep learning the language of the soul. But most of all, and this is the most important thing I can tell you, pay attention to your life. Starting today, starting right now. The signs are everywhere. Your loved one is speaking. They're tapping on the glass, whispering in the wind, arranging the universe in impossible ways. Just to let you know, I'm here, I love you, you're not alone. It's time to listen. Because death is not goodbye. Death is see you soon. And until that day comes, they're walking beside you every step of the way. Thank you for being here. Thank you for opening your heart. Thank you for honoring your grief and your love by seeking the truths. Your loved one sees you, they're proud of you, and they're closer than you think. Now go live, notice, love. And remember, the veil is thin.